So I was used to this. I was very used to being appreciated for my intelligence. It was a way of life. But it was also a great compensation for the fact that growing up, I had a very crummy childhood. It was difficult. So I was lucky to have this one light shining on me where people valued me because I was intelligent, because it helped me to become an adult and not, disappear in all of that. And I think if you have a difficult childhood, it's always good to have something that gives you the avenue to be able to decide for yourself what you want your life to be like and to make your own choice about who you are. So when I became an adult and I got married, I have kids, I was always observing everybody, and I watched my kids. They were like little foreign matter, like they were happy, like all the time. I'm like, how do they do that? And I'd watch my husband. I'm like, wow, I think he's happy too. And I might have appeared happy or tried to be happy, but it never really got anything more than a false start because I didn't have a premise for happiness. I hadn't been taught it. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna learn this because I've learned everything else I've ever done. I'm going to learn how to be happy. Now, mind you, I didn't go to a library. I didn't look up a book. I didn't read anything. I just said, I'm going to learn how to be happy. That was my whole idea. What really changed for my trajectory was I live in Suffolk County, and on the morning of 9/11/2001, by then I had my own business. I was doing really well. I was working out of my home, and about 3 mornings a week or 4 mornings a week, I would go for a run and get back and start working at 9. And on the morning of 9/11, I did go for my run, and I got back at 5 to 9, and I was punching the key code into the garage door to get myself back in the house. And I was standing there, and I experienced what was happening at the World Trade Center as it was unfolding. Obviously, it was only a minute until somebody was ringing my phone telling me to put the TV on. So I got to see in real time that I had experienced what was going on in the world. And what was really interesting about it was that I had advanced knowledge of what the broadcasters were saying. They were trying to just report what they saw and making some suppositions, but all of a sudden I realized I knew a lot more than they knew. So it was a kind of odd feeling. So it changed the course of my life. The single greatest thing that it did for me was it gave me a sense that there's more to life than what we touch and see and have any sensory perception of. And that, for some reason, unknown to me, except it was intuition, was that gave me hope in the aftermath of 9/11 that at least there had to be some underlying value or purpose in what was going on. So I was left with a sense that my conscious energy is not connected to my body, despite my left brain telling me my whole life that it is. And I was left with the idea that there's more to life than we may suppose. And it helped me. With the kids during that period. I always forget this part. I don't know why, but I was also pregnant at the time. So, I had this baby when I was running, and I guess he was just a part of the whole journey. So there he was, boom. He actually just had his birthday a couple of days ago. But what eventually happened was I started to get information about things that were going on around the world as they were unfolding on a regular basis, but with 100% accuracy, and it would appear in the headlines, or we'd get a phone call or some way that the knowledge would come to me that I was exactly, on target about what it was. What was more interesting than that felt like a party game to know something that's happening in the world. I was probably entertaining at parties. But what was more interesting for me personally was that I started to get like a narrative with these experiences that was telling me not what was happening, not that the tsunami was hitting, or not that these people were evacuating, or this murder occurred. I was starting to get a narrative of why. Basically, it was as though I had souls narrating the meaning of life to me, why we intersect, why we're here, how everything unfolds. Everything has such incredible purpose. And as I would listen to this stuff for these years, I would apply this knowledge into my own life, and I reinterpreted my childhood, and I started to find myself becoming happier. At the time, my circle of friends was, I'm not exaggerating, they were all lawyers, doctors, business owners, and accountants. This was my entire circle: friends, acquaintances, business associates, and relatives. This was it. So now I have to try to start telling people I'm talking to dead people, because I figured that's what I was doing. Now, if you realize my background, that was a leap of faith for me to start telling people this, which in my frame of reference, in my social arena, there was no place for this, period. And I did it. One person at a time, I would share my new experiences. And I found that because I did have a highly educated circle, I did find that their curiosity, the questions that they were asking, I was able to answer every question. And it started to let them have faith that I did find this conduit to information that could be of value to them as much as it was valuable to me. And when I started to settle into that possibility, I did decide that I was going to use this conduit for being able to help people understand the meaning of life, to develop their own intuition, to make choices that come from a place of wisdom, to let go of the masks and layers that you're carrying. So this is what it is that I do, and this is why I teach intuition development, because intuition is the single greatest resource that we have available to us. It's more valuable than anything that you've ever been taught, anything you've ever learned in school, or anything that you might suppose is necessary beyond air, food, water, sleep, and all that. Beyond the essentials, intuition is it. And over the next 4 months, we're going to see a lot more about why that is such a valuable resource. But what I found is that if you start to look at intuition as sitting at a dinner table in the 1950s with your family, I wasn't there. The 1950s was a chunk of meat, a carbohydrate, and a little bit of veggie, right? That was the way we took in our food. And today, we eat lots of vegetables, a little bit of protein, and maybe on the carbs. So we completely change the way we take in what we feed ourselves. Intuition is the same, except we use our intuition is our vegetables now. We still need carbohydrates, and we still need protein. That's our intellect and our habits and all of our life experience that brought us to this moment here. But don't make them the biggest chunk of what you feed yourself, or you're going to become unhealthy. That's the bottom line. And I'm not just talking about your relationship with your body. I'm talking about your relationship with your life, your love, your happiness, your joy, your abundance, and every other part of it. All right? I do get a sense right off the bat about what our particular meeting group's level of awareness is. Like, where are you in relationship with your own developed intuition? And I know that this is a pretty high level of awareness group. And that means that's a great thing, because we're going to get to do some stuff that's a little bit more fun. We won't keep it at an elementary level, but we'll do enough simpler things so that for those of you who are familiar already, at least you'll get the review of it. And I can do some of these simpler things a million times, and I don't even get bored by it. So it is still fun to play. If you're playing with intuition, it keeps it at your fingertips, and it doesn't let it drop into the background where you might not be able to access it. I'm definitely having problems with the recording staying on. It seems to keep losing internet access. But, I mean, I can press that button, but it just goes out again. So I don't know exactly what we're going to do about that. Let's see if this is the first time it's gone this many seconds without turning off. So maybe we'll be okay. What's that?
I don't know what the speeds in here are, because they're not trying to stream things. Can you record it onto your iPad?
No iPad can record 2 hours. It's just the data is too great. However, this is the longest we've gone so far without it cutting off again. So maybe...
if it's better, I can go grab a camera from next door and throw it right onto like a little...
If need be, I think that would be terrific. I can see through my peripheral when it goes out. It's been out most of when I've been speaking so far. And for those of who, I don't remember who is not here.
Yes, Patricia.
Oh, we have
Marissa.
2 people that can't be here tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you know?
Patricia and Marissa.
Oh, you know them both?
Yeah.
Oh, terrific. All right, so good. So even just the brief intro that wasn't recorded, if you can kind of fill them in. I think it's nice to know what your source is when you're taking a class.
Yeah.
All right, so that would be terrific. So far, we seem good now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Now, what I would like to do is the next step is we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves and just make a brief statement as to what brought you here today. Okay? I want to tell you that for those of you who have never worked with me before or been in an audience of mine before, every place that I do anything, I know it's a lot to do with my energy and where I am in my life. Every place I go is a safe place, meaning that you don't have to worry about your normal stuff. What can I say in front of this group? How do I feel? Are these people going to respect me and honor me and hold my heart in their hands? Just coming into something that I do, there's like a pre-screening at the door. You can't get in if you're going to be a pain in the neck human. You can only get in if you're already somewhat of a soul. It's a kind of miracle device. I'm thinking of patenting it so other people can have access to it. But it works. Inevitably, it works. I will tell you that I oftentimes show up at things where I have people who have been at an event and then they're sponsoring something, and I see clients that I know that they don't know in the audience, sometimes even out of state. So I recognize that there are a lot of relationships are developing among all of the stuff that it is that I do. My point is, I'm not asking you to turn on your own personal filter about what makes you feel safe or comfortable, but I'm telling you that you're not going to find a better place to kind of just be yourself and to talk about things that you might be curious about that you might feel uncomfortable talking about in an audience where you would feel that there's going to be judgment or anything else going on. It's not going to happen here. What happens in this room stays in this room. There really are no viewers. It's only going to the two people who are not here.
Yeah.
Oh, did we reach 1 million? What happens in here stays in here, and the thing is, no matter how comfortable you feel holding on to things, the point is, do not be embarrassed. There is no right or wrong answers here. There is no somebody's doing better or worse than another. There's always going to be someone that feels that they can't do what we're supposed to be doing, or they're failing at it while someone else is succeeding at it. But this is not a hierarchy. One of the purposes of having a 4-month course is that we get to dabble in lots of different ways to develop our intuition. Something might work for Elizabeth, yes? Something might work for Elizabeth that doesn't work for Alexis, and vice versa. There are certain things that I'm not great at intuitively, like knowing I have a flat tire in advance and leaving. And so I'm not great at all of it anyway. I definitely have my area where it's incredibly strong, but the whole idea is that you're in a place where you get to dabble, you get to see what works and to see what interests you and to see what you would like to play with outside of the group and to see what area is going to be something that you can continue with in the future, okay? You should have gotten a letter, an email from my office asking you to bring a log or a notebook. Does everybody have something to write on or with? And there's a reason. I'm not one of those people that thinks that everything I say is really important and you have to write it down. The log book is going to be for you because we are going to have homework assignments, and having a log book is going to be very, very helpful to you. But I want to set up I like to understand everything I do and why I do it. I don't want to just be told to do things. But I want to explain to you why a log book is so important, okay? First of all, I'll tell you, when I was in high school, if someone told me I had to keep a log book, I would deliberately not keep a log book because that's how I carved out control over my life. So that's why I'd like to share with you why it's so valuable. In our experience here, we are a mind and a body and a spirit. We are consciousness that comes and takes this physical form for this journey, however long this ride lasts. That means that our essence, our ability to perceive and to be and to enjoy, our eternal nature was around long before we ever took this body. So our mind, our consciousness, our memories which date way before this earth life and way before the memories that you can remember from this lifetime, that's always with us. It's always with us. The soul, the essence of our being, what makes you eternal, is always with us. The only thing we pick up when we come here is our bodies, okay? So in the sphere of mind and body and spirit, if you want to bring more soul into your life, You got to make some wiggle room in that circle, in that sphere. And the one who's going to be your biggest gatekeeper is the one who only has this lifetime as a memory, which is your body. Your body is an amazing gatekeeper. It only knows itself. All of the rest of you knows itself as an eternal being. So your body becomes a protector. It tries to keep out stuff that it doesn't believe belongs. Okay? So when you're doing any work to bring in more opportunities to discover things through intuition, you've got to get your body on board so it feels like a partner and it doesn't feel like it's got to do its job and guard you to protect you from the unknown. Okay? So the reason we keep a logbook is because it's one thing to know the answer. It's another thing to be able to repeat it to another person. But it's not until you take a pen and put it on a piece of paper and write it down does your body really know it's a part of the whole equation. Okay? The other reason is that we don't have the memories we think we do. We just don't. You can have a powerful dream and tell everybody about it. Someone can interpret it. You feel really good and pumped and jazzed. Well, I'm going to ask you in September about that dream. What are you going to tell me? I think you were talking to someone else. You know, I know you talk to a lot of people. That's okay, Karen. You're still sweet. You know? But that's just the way we